Hi, Year 5, lesson 9 in our Maths No Problem. So we're carrying on with thinking about adding and subtracting decimals. Your arithmetic has been shared separately, so you can have a go at doing that on either on the screen rather than printing it off, or if you need to print it off, you can. So let's have a look at today's in focus task. We've got a picture here of a milk carton. It doesn't really matter, it's not really necessary for us to look at this information, but we will. I think it says 1 litre and 200 millilitres, so that's the volume of the milk. Always good to use that extra vocabulary when we're talking about maths. So we've got the volume of the milk there, the capacity of this. But this milk carton costs £1.30. We've got our pound sign there. Note that we don't have a pence sign, we only have pounds. So when we go into pounds, we definitely only have the pound sign and not the pence sign. So £1.30. This is our pounds column, and then these are our pence, but we don't call them pence. So that's really important. And then the chocolate here is 80p. Now, still written with a pound sign, but it doesn't have any whole pounds. We can see that because there's nothing in the ones column, and the ones column or the tens or the hundreds, that would tell us our whole pounds. So we've got no whole pounds, and then we've got 8/10 of a pound, which is 80p. And it says, what are some questions you could ask about the prices of the items? So today's in focus is quite broad, it's quite open today. Thinking about the fact that we're adding and subtracting decimals, can you think of some questions, and I want more than two, can you think of some questions that you might be able to ask using this information here? Pause the video and have a go in your books. Okay, so I've come up with some questions here, and I'm really thinking about my vocabulary. So I'm not just saying, what is this, add this. I might use vocabulary like sum. What is the sum of the two prices? And hopefully you remember that when we're talking about sum, we're talking about the cost of them added together. So sum means add the amounts together. What is the total cost of the two products? That's just another way of saying the same thing. What's the total cost of the two products? I know I've got to add them. What's the difference between the two prices? So hopefully remember that that language there, difference, is talking about if I've got one amount and another amount, I need to work out what is the gap between them. So the difference between them means I'm actually doing the larger one take away the smaller one, and that will give me the difference in the cost. Okay, we talked about this yesterday, but it's really, really important language that we really, really must know by year 5. And then we've got another question: how much more does the milk cost than the chocolate? So you have to think, what would you do to work this one out? How much more does the milk cost than the chocolate? What is that asking you to do? Is that asking you to add them together or take one away from the other? So there's just a few examples of some questions that I've got, but it'd be really nice to see the questions that you've come up with as well today. So let's have a little look at a question. So I'm going to first of all focus on adding. Now I know that you guys are really good already at doing 1.3. Oh dear. Let's make that a bit bigger. Okay, so you're really good at knowing that you can do 1.3, and as long as you line it up, then it should 0.8 be neatly in columns there for you to have a go at, and then you can obviously put your line underneath. In fact, I'm going to make sure that I do it with a ruler. So that's what you guys should be doing. Okay, nice neat line. And then I know that I can do 8 add 3, and just like I would do without the decimal point here, in fact, I'm going to write it to show you how I would do it. 8 add 3, I know, is 11, so I'm going to exchange my 1, and I'm going to put my 1 here, put my decimal point here, and I'm going to do 1 add 0 is 1, plus the 1 from down here is 1. Okay? That look right? No, Mrs. Hall. Deary me. Let's try that again, shall we? 1 add 1 is not 1. 1 add 1 is 2. Okay, so we have 2.1 as our answer. Now we can do this working out, but what I think is really, really important is that you actually understand what it is that we're doing there. So what I'm going to show you today is what is going on when we do this, okay? You're quite welcome to use that process to work out adding and subtracting, so to do your working out, but I do think it's really important that you know what it is that you're actually doing. So if we have a little look at this here, I've got some place value counters. So I've got my ones and my tenths. So I've got in this number here, let's move me out of the way, look, don't need me there. In this number here, we've got 1 whole, so 1 ones, which is this one, and 3 tenths, because it's in the tenths column. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 lots of 0.1 makes 0.3, which is our 3 tenths. Okay, in this number here, we've got no whole ones, so no ones at all, so we've got nothing here, and then 8 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lots of 0.1 makes 0.8. Hopefully you're okay with that and you understand that. So now we're saying, right, well, what actually happens when we add them together? Well, we have got 1.3 and we're saying, what is going to happen when I add 0.8 onto it? So watch what's actually going on. We've got the 1.3 and I'm going to move these numbers now into this number. I'm going to add them on. So what's my maximum number that I can have in here before I then have to think about this column? Have a think for yourself. What's my maximum number of 0.1 can I have before I have to then add 1 here? Hopefully you know that 0.9 is the largest that can go in here. As soon as I hit 0.10 is not right, is it? It's not 0.9, 0.10. After 0.9, it goes to 1. So as soon as I hit the next one, I need to have a ones digit. So I've got 3 already. So using our number bonds, we know that we need to have how many more? Yes, 7 more, okay? So I've got 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. And then when I bring that last one in, actually what I'm doing is I need to convert that because I can't have 10 in that column there. So I'm going to convert that now. I've no longer got those. And now that becomes 1 whole. Did you see that? We had 1.3, I added 0.7. I've no longer got any tenths because I've now converted those tenths into a whole. So my number at the moment is 2, but I've also got this little one here I can't forget about. So I am now going to add that into my number. These have been cancelled out because I've used them here, replaced them with 1, 1. I've exchanged them. So I've exchanged 10 tenths for 1 whole. So now I've got 2 whole 0.1, 2.1, and that was my digit there. That was my number there, sorry, not my digit. That was the number that I ended up with. So hopefully that's a little bit clearer on what's actually happening when you're doing this, because that's so important that you understand that. 7 tenths of this, so 0.7 goes onto this to make this 2, and then that leaves 1 left over. All right, another way you could look at it is, if I take this here, bring this up here, forget this. I could split this into 0.7 and 0.1. Should just type this, I know. 0.7 plus 1.3. Those two added together, can you see that number bond there? Okay, those two added together are going to make 2 whole. That's these 2 whole. And then I've got 1 left over. It's just another way of looking at it. Okay, let's have a look at another one then. Which is more expensive, the milk or the chocolate? Now remember, the milk costs £1.30 and the chocolate costs 80p. So we know that the milk is more expensive, but then the next question, this is where we do our working out, how much more expensive is it? So what we're doing is we're thinking, right, okay, well, I know that. I'll quickly draw a box. If I was drawing this with a bar model, okay, if this is my milk, oh look, I'm going to try and get all technical here with you, if it works. Okay, so if this is my milk, all right, and then let's have our chocolate. Okay, so our chocolate is on the next row. Now, our chocolate, which is more expensive? Well, we know that the milk is more expensive, so we know that the bar for this one is going to need to be shorter. Okay, don't worry too much about the length of the bar. We just need to know that it's shorter. So we know then that this bar here, the milk, is £1.30. Let's see, will it work? £1.30. And we know that this bar here is 80p, but I'm going to write it in pounds because we'll want to keep them the same. So what we're trying to do is we know this one's more expensive than this. So we're trying to work out how much more expensive is it. I get to this point, this is 80p here. What's this bit worth? That's what we're trying to work out, isn't it? So we're actually saying, what is the value of this bit of our bar? All right, okay, so in order to do that, we are going to do a takeaway, aren't we? We're going to find the difference. We need to do £1.30, take away the 80p that we know will give us this bit here. So let's have a look at that with our coins. Now, again, you can do 1.3, take away 0.8. You can do it using your grid, your column method. Let's quickly put a nice neat line underneath that. Parents, are you getting the sense that the children don't remember to use their rulers? Hopefully you're doing it at home. Okay, now this one's tricky because I can't do 3 take away 8. I've got to use some of this. I've got to convert this so that I can use this. So actually what I'm doing, the easiest way of doing this is I'm going to, look, if I've got to do that, I might as well have done that in my head, haven't I? There's not much point in me actually doing a written method for this. So we might actually go, well, if I start on 1.8, let's draw a number line quickly. So this is what's going on in my head. I don't really need to do this as a written method. Most of us by year 5 are okay with this. So we're starting at 0.8 and we're saying, right, how many more until I get to 1.3? So 0.8, I need 0.2 to get to 1 whole. So that's 2 more. And then I need another 0.3 to get to 1.3. So plus 0.2 and then plus 0.3. All right, that's how we're going to, that's how we would have it in our heads. That's our thought process. How many more to get to 1 whole? How many to get to then 1.3? All right, so let's have a little look then to see how that actually works with our place value counters. So I've got 1.3. Now, we've just said that we can't take 8/10 away from this. So what we need to do is we're going to actually change this into 10/10. So let's count, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I am aware that we couldn't have that many in there, could we? Because that's actually 13/10. And we're not allowed to have 13/10 because it actually would then say, well, that is actually 1 whole and 3/10. But I've put it there so that we have enough that we can take away 8/10. So we're going to do that together. Take away 8/10. Count with me. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. So we've taken those away because we had to take away 0.8. And what are we left with? We are left with 5/10. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. And that's what we've got here, look, 0.5, 0.2 plus 0.3 is 0.5. And we could do the same here. Okay, put it under there. So that's what's happening. That's what the thinking behind this is, all right? It's about actually exchanging and using, so swapping a whole one for 10/10ths to help you, okay? Or if you get to 10/10ths, that then becomes one whole and you no longer have any tenths. Hopefully that makes sense, and I know some of you will have probably whizzed on. You'll be really confident with that. Let's have a look then. So guided practice, it's given you the counters to help you for these at the top. So find the sum, there's that language there, that's really important. Subtract, you know what that means, we've got to take away. Calculate the total price, so all of this language is really important. So you can use your drawings, you can draw bar models if that helps you, anything at all that helps you to work these out. Then your workbook, you're doing the same. So you're carrying on thinking about the sum of, finding the difference. You can do your bar models if you want to. You could even have a go, couldn't you, at doing 0.7 plus 0.4. Well, we break it down and we say, how many of that 0.4 do I need to make a number bond? I'm going to need 0.3 because I know that 7 and 3 are a number bond. And how much is left? 0.1. Okay, so use these strategies. A lot of this will be mentally in your heads. Okay, so your extensions today then, you've got another activity where somebody has had a go at working out 2 decimals, adding 2 decimals, but he's made a mistake. Alex has made a mistake, or she rather, it's a female Alex, and what mistake has she made? So you need to explain what her mistake was there. And then Philip and Holly are adding 2 numbers. Now they're big numbers, we've gone into thousands, but we're used to looking at these. So added 2 numbers together, these are their methods. So they both had a go at it. Whose method is correct? And you need to prove it. So you need to actually have a go at adding those together. And then you need to explain the mistake that the other person has made. So whoever you think is wrong, you need to say what they've done wrong. Maths Teasers group, and the rest of you can move on to this. If you finish before, you know, you've got a bit of time left, feel free to have a go at this one. So here we've got some letters have replaced some digits. What's the greatest value that A could be? And then explain your answer. And then can you say what then B would be? Okay, so I haven't added that on there, but can you then say what B would be? So what's the greatest it could be? That's using your knowledge of number bonds there, isn't it? And then can you work out the missing digits in these calculations? So what would go into the blue boxes? Both worksheets, this one and this one, are saved on Tapestry with the answers on the second page for you. All your answers for your guided practice and your workbook are now saved in a document together as well. So it would be great if you can go through and mark it, remember, and then correct any mistakes that you've made before you move on. Okay, I hope it goes really well today, and let us know if you need any help at all.